Welcome to the Power of Expression podcast, where we get to learn how to show up in the fullest expression of us, whatever that looks like, feels like, and enjoy the journey along the way. So I am so excited to actually have this conversation and record this episode. It is all around lessons that I learned 20 years ago, but didn't realize they were lessons I learned until just recently. So what I'm going to share today and talk about today is all around training and running 2 marathons. So in 2004 and 2007, I trained and ran the Chicago Marathon in 2004 and the New York City Marathon in 2007. And it was absolutely amazing. And I really loved every minute of it. But it wasn't until, like I said, just recently where I realized the things that I did to accomplish that goal is absolutely the formula that I can use, that we can use to implement our business, to implement the best way for us to show up, the power of expression. And in this journey of all this learning and growing and unfolding and unpacking and expanding who I am, the journey has been diving into me and figuring out who I am and who I want to be and what are my values and what am I passionate about, really going from expectation of others to full expression. That has been really my journey the last 20 years. But like I said, again, is that as I started thinking about, okay, so I trained, I always stress the word trained, and ran 2 marathons, and how powerful the lessons that I learned back then, but I wasn't able to put words to it like I am now. And the other part of that is completing a marathon. Less than 1% of the world's population has ever completed a marathon. So I will have to say that there's a little bit of pride that I feel in I am part of less than 1%. So kind of a cool, fun fact, right? So anyways, the things that so some of the things that I learned, and I'm breaking it down into steps, into numbers here. But number one, the first reason why I wanted to I even played with the idea, that initially just even played with the idea of training and running and completing a marathon this was back in 2004. And up until that point, I was really, I would say my self-esteem was probably at an all-time low. Just was not in a good place, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, all the beings. And I thought, you know what, if there's something I could do that I could be really proud of myself, that could help me in other aspects of my life. I wouldn't have put those words to it, but I also knew that I wanted to feel proud of myself, because I never felt like I had done anything or accomplished anything in my life up until that point where I could feel or be proud of myself. So that was number one, was I just wanted to do something where I could say, I did that. I accomplished that. So that was number one. Number two was I made the decision. Once I made the decision, there was a 100% knowing that I was going to accomplish it. Like there was no way that I was going to not accomplish it. I made the decision. I had decided on Chicago. I had done some research. I had found that the Chicago Marathon was the number one marathon, the number one first time marathon for so many people. And so I thought that would be a great first step for me. It had all these 5-star reviews, and it talked about how crowd participation, music, people really cheered you on, they supported you, all of that. And I thought, well, that's also really great to have the support and the cheering on. And so that was a great kind of check mark. So when I made the decision, so let me back up. So I done the research. Okay, Chicago was going to be the marathon that I was going to do, my first time marathon, and gotten all these great reviews. Like I said, I'd asked around, asked people. This was before social media, so it wasn't doing any polls on social media. It was just reaching out to people that you knew and going into the running community and asking them. So yes, so the Chicago Marathon was going to be it, and I made the decision. And then there was a knowing. I just knew. I knew that I was going to accomplish it. Like there was zero doubt. There was no limiting beliefs. I was not wishy-washy about my decision. It was concrete. It was as if I had already accomplished that goal. Even though I hadn't even started running yet, started the training yet, I knew that I was going to accomplish this goal. There was no wobble, and I knew that I was going to do it no matter what. I had no idea what the training or what the process was going to look like. But again, I knew no matter what, that this was going to be a goal that I was going to accomplish, because back to number one, and that was I wanted to do something that I could be proud of myself. Number 3. So, as I mentioned, this was before social media. So I had not told very, very few people that I was going to do this. I told a select few, and I only told people that I trusted. And what I mean by that is meaning that they would not be negative. They would not say, oh, you can't do that, or why even try, or they wouldn't make fun of me. So I only told people that I trusted. I only told people that would support me and cheer me on. So that was very, very important, because at this point I hadn't even run 1 mile of the training. So that was very important, of being selective of who I told that I was going to do this goal. Number 4. So in the running world, so if you're a runner, you're going to know this name. If you're not, the running expert in the marathon world is a guy named Hal Higdon. And so it was going to halhigdon.com and looking up the marathon training program. Now within that, he had listed beginners, so beginner runners, intermediate, and advanced. And so you could click on any one of those, and then within that, it would give you the actual training program that you would need. So I picked the beginner. Now, hit pause for a second. So up until this point, I had ran high school track, and I was definitely a long distance runner in the sense that I could run 4 to 5 miles, 4 to 5 miles at a given time in one run. So that was my foundation of training for the marathon. Let me also say for those that may not know this, when I say marathon, whenever you hear the word marathon, that means that equals 26.2 miles. 26.2 miles. A half marathon, if someone says, I'm training or running a half marathon, that means or equals 13.1 miles. So a marathon, a full marathon, is 26.2 miles. Now, I'll also say the 0.2 miles is the hardest of all the 26.2 miles. So I had, like I said, I was a long distance runner in that I could run 4 to 5 miles pretty easy. I never had any sort of back pain or knee pain or hip pains or anything like that. So that was my foundation. That was my beginning point of beginning my training for this marathon. So Hal Higdon, I clicked on I clicked on oh my goodness. I clicked on beginner, the beginner training program. Now, it laid out exactly what you would need to do every single day. And so then at that point, what I did was I looked at my calendar and I plugged in that I was running the Chicago Marathon October 10th, 2004. So that was the big circle that I put on my calendar. Then I reversed engineered, right? So I went back and it's 18 weeks. The training program for a marathon is 18 weeks. So I counted backwards to figure out when my start date of training for this marathon was. So my start date was June 1st. So I put on my calendar, June 1st, begin marathon training program. Now, with this training program, like I said, it was 18 weeks. Every single day, it told you exactly what you needed to do. So it was running 4 days a week, having 1 day of cross training, and then 2 days, you could take 2 days of rest. Now, the 4 days of training, you had 3 days of back-to-back. You would have a rest day, and then Saturdays were always your long run days. Okay. Now, the other part of this is the training program. It would build you up for 2 weeks. So you would run 2 miles first day, 3 miles, and then 4 miles. And then your long run would be 6. Then the week 2 would be increased miles. So it would be 3 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles, and then your long run would be 8 miles. Then the third week would be a slow down or a recovery week. So you're running the miles of the amount of miles that you would run would scale back slightly to give your body time to rest and recover. So week 3 was that. Then week 4, you would jump into higher miles. Saturdays, again, was always your long runs. So you would start. So the first Saturday of the long run was 6 miles. The last Saturday of your 18-week stretch right before your marathon was 20 miles, was the longest that I ever ran in terms of preparing for this marathon. Now, what was so powerful about all of this is that every single day, I just had to look at my calendar and see how many miles I was running. I didn't think about it. I didn't try to negotiate. I didn't back off from it. I didn't decide, oh, I'm not doing that today. It was just, I was doing it. It was part of a skill set, and it was part of a knowing that I was doing it no matter what. So, like I said, I would wake up every morning and it would be, oh, today I'm running 10 miles. It'd be the first thing I would do. I'd get my outfit on, my running shoes, my headphones, and I would go out and I would run 10 miles and not complain about it, not, wish it away. I would just do it, and then it would be over. And then I would go about the rest of my day. And then the next day I would maybe have to run 6 miles, and I would go up and do the same thing. So what does that look like for you in terms of what is something that you want to do in your life, and how just doing the little steps along the way, you can then reach the big goal, right? Do you see the parallel in all of this? Now we are Sunday, October 10th, 2004, and I'm in Chicago getting ready to run with 40,000 other runners. And it was the adrenaline, the excitement was absolutely at an all-time high. I remember having that that pit in your stomach, right? That nervousness pit in your stomach. But I'm there. Of course, there's no way I'm not doing it. So I'm all ready to go, surrounded by 40,000 other of my closest friends. The bell goes off, the ring goes off, and we take off. Now, along the way was so much crowd support, so much cheering on, some of the coolest signs. People would be dressed up. They would be playing their trumpet. They'd be playing instruments. There was bands out there. They had big stages and all of that throughout the neighborhoods, but just the mom and dad, the spectators, the people where we were running through neighborhoods where you could tell that a lot of them probably just rolled out of bed. They made their sign the night before. They had the loud noise makers. They were out there cheering us on. And so what does that look like for us in today's age, in the goals that we're, trying to accomplish in the business world, or if you're, an entrepreneur, or even a CEO world? What does it look like to have support? Of course, people aren't going to be lining up, as you walk in the front door of the office building. People aren't going to be lined up with signs cheering you on. But where in your life can you bring more support, and understanding how much support supports all of us, and how that allows us to all show up and accomplish those big goals that we all want to do. Then the other part of this is, everyone had told me, there were so many people that had told me, and I'd read, and, all the blogs and all that kind of stuff. Again, this was before social media, so it was more like blogs. But people talked about how mile 18, there's mile 17, 18, up till like mile 22, that you would hit a wall. It was called hitting the wall, is what they called it. Meaning, right, that you, up until that point, you had run 17, 18, 20 miles, and you still had another, 6+ miles to go, and that you would just mentally hit a wall. And how do you prepare for hitting that wall? It was just part of this normal conversation, and almost an expectation of, you are going to hit a wall, so prepare for it now, and have things in place so you can run through the wall, get through the wall, right? So it was on my mind, and I just kept thinking, okay, a mile marker, 18, I'm going to hit the wall. I'm going to hit the wall. The mile 20, gonna hit the wall. And I never did. And I never did. And thinking back to that point, how come I never hit the wall that everyone else talked about? And I'm going to say it goes back to number one of what I shared. And that was I wanted to do something that I would be proud of. And also the number two reason is that I made the decision. It was a knowing, and it was an absolute. It was with zero doubt. There was nothing wishy-washy. There was no compromise. There was no way that I was going to not complete this marathon. So I never hit that wall that everyone talked about. But I also was so in the moment. I loved absolutely every mile. I loved every moment of the Chicago Marathon. And talk about people watching. That was one of the best things to see and do as well. Oh, I also have to share one of the best signs. So going back to the spectators and the community support that I felt along the way. One of them, and I want to say it was mile marker, I'm going to say 5 or 6. So it was early on. And there was this big sign this lady had made, and it said, "You are all Kenyans." And what that means, Kenyans are world famous in being marathon runners and being the fastest marathon runners. And so just the sign of, you are all Kenyans just gave me that warm, fuzzy feeling, and that can do feeling of being able to do this marathon. The other sign that I remember was, it was at mile marker 2, and she had written 2 down, 24.2 to go. We're like, 24.2. But you're still you're still at mile marker 2, you're still in the adrenaline of 40,000 other runners. So it was just a great sign, right? And then what happened at mile marker 24, the sign then said, you've completed 24.2. Now you only have 2 miles left. So that was a great kind of bookend to that sign. But anyways, the support and the community of this entire marathon was everything, and the energy that it gave all of us to complete the marathon. And so part of the remaining part of the lessons that I've learned is that if we can complete a hard goal in life, whatever that is, whether it's running a marathon, it's raising beautiful, powerful, talented, gifted children. Maybe it's running a 6-figure business. Maybe it's starting your own business from scratch. Whatever that is, we all do hard things. And it's only when a couple things. One, pause and really look at what we've accomplished and being proud of that accomplishment, not what we haven't completed yet, but what we have accomplished at that point. And the other thing is realizing that it's all a journey. And the biggest part of the journey is diving more into you. And the power of expression is learning and diving more into you and how you show up, because that is how you show up in everything else. The more that you are clear about who you are, the more that you will show up and do those hard things and realize how much you have accomplished and how amazing that you are. My earlier episode, I want to say it was episode 8, and I talked about the title was Everything is a Skill Set. And so everything is a skill set, right? I talk about training and running this marathon. And actually, I can say I've completed 2 of them. But it wasn't until I really stopped and acknowledged how much I've grown in my own personal journey and my inner work that I've done, that I've actually acknowledged my accomplishment of this and how it will help me and is helping me accomplish my other goals that I have in life, my other aspirations that I have in life. So, with all that being said, I hope that you have some powerful takeaways from this episode. And it is just knowing that we have everything that we need to accomplish those big goals in life. And there's no such thing as one and done. And it's every single day showing up, and it's doing those small little things. And then you too can say, I accomplished this big goal. And I guarantee there's so many things that you've already accomplished, and to just simply pause and be proud of what you've done so far. So sending you so much love. Have a beautiful day. And until next time, the power of expression. Enjoy, enjoy.